Hey YouTube, so today we are going to remove a fuel tank on a 2000 Honda Accord. I'm going to show you how to get in there and get that done. This particular car, if you needed to change the fuel pump, you could actually do that from the inside of the vehicle. I have it up in the air, I can't show you that right now, but you can actually do it from the inside of the vehicle. Just take the seat out and you have access to the fuel tank. However, this particular vehicle has a fuel leak on it where it's dripping down, so we need to remove the tank to find out if it's a tank or a line or what have you. But in order to do that on this particular car, it's different. You'll notice that the fuel tank is inside of this cage here, the subframe cage. So what you'll have to do is remove the subframe in order to get to the tank. Now, for those of you who've dropped tanks before, you know, it's pretty simple once you get to that, but you have to get all this stuff out of the way. And when you look at it, it can be a little confusing, but you don't have to remove every little thing. I'm going to show you a few little quick shortcuts, okay? So, the first thing that you'll want to remove is your exhaust system, all right? And the easiest way to do that, of course, is to pry off the little rubbers. There's one there, the rubber hangers, and disconnect it. We're going to disconnect it here. That way you remove the whole assembly, and we'll just sit that down out the way, and then that'll give us a clearer view of that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and remove that right quick, and then we'll come back to filming. We'll get these out. There's your nut. 3 flange screws out. That'll disconnect that pipe. And we'll come back here and we'll disconnect that hanger, that hanger, that hanger, and there's another hanger. Now we could disconnect it here, but that, you see how that's already rusted out? There's no need of taking that apart to create extra work for yourself. We can just disconnect the hangers. It might break anyway once we pull that down, but let's hope not. Our main focus here today is, this course, is the fuel tank, not the exhaust pipe. Now, easy way to get those hangers loose. Take a good pry bar and just pry it. There's certain ones that you'll find better to leave on the car, and there's certain ones you'll find better to leave hanging on the actual, hanging on the on like here. Like here, I took it off here from the car. I've got it hanging there on the car. On this one, I took it off and left it hanging on here, because when it goes up, it just slides back on right there. So take them off accordingly. And now you see I have it hanging. I'll use my jack to hold that up, and that way I can pull those others off, and I don't want this to fall down on the ground and break. So let me get that off, and then we can get focused back on this cage here. Alright, so we have our transmission jack holding that up. So now we can pry that last piece off there, and then we can move this exhaust system out of the way. And now we have our exhaust system removed. Now we'll proceed to removing our cage. I'll give you a better view of that cage like that. Alright, and up under that cage you'll notice you do have your fuel tank, and that's our primary goal here. So a couple things that you'll need to get loose. Alright, first, there are like some 2 12mm screws here. Yeah, 12mm. You want to take those out there, 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 and there. Alright, now of course I have this up on a lift, so it's going to make it a little easier for me. And after you have that removed, all right, you have 4 main bolts. One here, Okay, they're basically on the same plate as those 12 millimeter bolts are. So you take that loose, we'll take that loose, and then you'll come on this side, you'll take that one loose, and you'll take that one loose. Now what's going to happen when you do that is it's going to cause this whole cage to drop down. Alright, this whole assembly is going to drop down. But before it drops down, you need to remove the bolts holding your struts. Okay? Take the bottom bolt out, it'll just screw out. Again, you want to have some type of jack, alright, up under this to support this cage and also to put it back because this cage is heavy. Alright, so you'll drop that. Now, this cable here, if you're gonna, once you drop it down, if you're on the ground, you may want to move the whole thing out of the way. So I would recommend you remove your brake cable here. That's for your emergency brake, or just remove that. Take that loose, take that loose. That way you'll be able to pull the whole assembly out of the way. And also your ABS sensors, you need to disconnect those from here. They may be rusted at the top. If they are, just kind of pry it a little bit. You might even need to spray them down on the older vehicle. And finally, their brake line here. You'll want to relieve. You'll want to take that off there and remove that there. That way when this cage falls down, you don't have anything connected. Now you could just take that loose, but that's going to pull all that down, so disconnect that there. Alright, if you have a rusty vehicle like we have here, I do recommend that you spray all those little bolts down before you take them loose, because you don't want to break them. And you know, it doesn't cost that much to spray them down. Alright, so we're going to get all that stuff loose. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll drop the cage. Alright, so I want to show you an easier way to, instead of having to get those loose, those are kind of tight and rusted, and I didn't want to take the chance of breaking it. Another way you can do it is you come down here and you take that little nut off right there, and then you come over here and you take that screw off right there. Okay, that will release that whole line, and you can just let the line hang down instead of disconnecting that connector. I know some of those can be tricky, and especially when they're rusted. Hey, if you can avoid messing with it, don't mess with it, because you know sometimes you can put more torque on it and break that line. So don't risk that. Just take it loose like I have here. So that's loose there. And then when I take that bolt out right there, that whole thing is coming out. Of course, your brake fluid is going to leak out, but you're going to have to bleed the brakes anyway. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you that quick tidbit, and then also on this, you want to take that nut loose there. Okay. See that? Take that nut loose there, and there's a slide here. You can take a screwdriver and slide that out, and that'll let that slide all the way in and out, and then you can pull that out. You know, it's really easy once you have this portion here removed, because you can have full access to move that cable, and you can just swing that up and off of the brake lever. Same thing for this side here. Again, you're going to take the nut off that holds it right there. We need to get the flashlight, put a little more light on this so we can see and get some light in here. Alright, so these are 14 millimeters. This bolt here is 14 millimeter. And when you take this out, there's going to be a O-ring right there. It's a brass seal, actually. Do not lose that, because if that's not on there, when you put it back, it will leak. And there's one on the top, and there's one on the bottom. These look like they're pretty firmly cemented in there. Alright. There's one right there. And there's one right there. Alright, go ahead and put your bolt back in the hole. See that bottom one turn in there? Yeah. The top one, it's kind of fused on there pretty good, so don't worry about that. Oh, I got something on my lens. Alright, let me clean my lens. We'll be right back. Alright, that's better. Alright, so now you see we've got the line loose. We took the bolt out back there, so now this line can just hang. You want to let it hang straight down, because this cage is going to come straight down. Next we'll work on getting that out, And we're gonna do this line over here. I'll do all that, and then we'll proceed to the next step. All right, the bottom screw for the cable. And this is a Honda, so most everything on this thing is gonna be like either a 10 or 12, 14. So again, put your screw back in where you took it out. Okay, got a little more light on the situation now. All right, so see that clip right there? There it is. I'm gonna take a screwdriver, stick that in there like so, and pry that bad boy out. Also, a minute ago, for those of you who saw I had brake fluid on my lens, I bought this case and I found it online at one of my little favorite spots, eBay. And I got this case for like $5 or so. And I wish I could show it to you because it's like pretty stout and on point. But all right, so we take that out. Remember, stick your screws in the holes that they came out of. We got that loose. So now we can take the screwdriver and we can pry that out. It's a little rusted, otherwise it would just come out. And at the top, once that's loose, you'll see you'll be able to move that. All right, so here's our screwdriver. I can get in there. And so now that's loose. And this piece actually slides down through there. But as you can see, we got some rust in there, so I'm gonna have to take a hammer and tap that down. Same thing on this side. There's that clip. See the clip, I'd already started pulling that out. Boom. Take the clip on out. Now that one is ready to go as well. I'll need 2 hands to pull that out. So give me a second. I'll get that loose and then we'll come back. Alright, so another issue, if by chance that you have like a situation like I did where it's rusted, you can take the nut out that holds that whole bar in, that whole bracket, and then you can just, leave that bracket on there, pull it down. So now you've got that hanging, that. Now we're ready to lower our cage because there's nothing else that's holding it up, okay? Or nothing else is going to be attached to it. All right, remember to take your ABS sensor wires loose, take that loose, and you want to have something to support this. All right, so let's put our bolts back in. Remember, if you take a bolt out, put the bolt back in the hole that it came out of. That makes it better. Also, with a vehicle like this, if you take like some penetrating oil and spray it down, it'll help kind of eat away that rust. So it's in there. All right, so that's stationary there. All right, so now we'll get our cage up, our lift up. Now we can lower our cage down out the way, and we'll have full access to our fuel tank. Like that. Okay. All right. Find the sizes, get the toolage, and we'll proceed. All right, now we have, these are 18 millimeter. Notice you have the plate that comes down with it. I'm gonna do this one-handed, so. You can already tell, I see the cage is starting to drop. I like to put those plates and bolts back in the same place they were, so you'll notice as I take it loose, I put it directionally proportionate to where it's going to go, so that way I don't mix them up. All right, this last one. And now the cage will drop down. Okay. Oh, after I remove these bolts here, I'll take those off. I meant to take those off first. Anyway, all right, we'll take that out. Sometimes I'll leave those in kind of like a little safety precaution because I don't want that cage dropping down onto my head. You know, I don't want that cage dropping down on my head while I'm doing that. Check that one out. And we'll take this one out. Already loose. This one here. Now this whole subframe will come down. Lower the lift. Yeah, see? Now it's dropping down. Now as it does drop, you want to look and make sure there's not like other surprise hidden stuff like this piece here. It's going to have to come down or be disconnected. I just have a rubber hose. Okay, so we'll lower it down a little bit more, a little at a time, and that way we can see what else is connected. You may need to jiggle it a little bit to get it down. And so the pipe there, hose there. All right, there's a few more little things I need to jiggle and disconnect. I'm gonna need both hands. So let me pause this and get it down, and then I can show you what else we have to do. Also, you'll want to remove the plate. Remove this screw, and that'll let that plate fall down. That way you'll have some play in there to push that shock out of the way. Otherwise it'll bend up when you're trying to lower it down. So and that's a 14 millimeter right there. With the plate removed, you can now use a pry bar, pry those shocks out of your way, and you're going to leave those hanging in the vehicle. Alright, now that you got that free, and make sure it's out of the way, because when it drops you don't want that to get caught on there. So I like to kind of move them, make sure they're free, so that when they do fall down it can won't hinder you. Alright. Also, you'll need to remove or loosen this screw here so you can disconnect the fuel filler. After you have all that, disconnect it slowly. You can drop it down. All right. See? Now we have access to our tank. Find out where the tank's leaking. Fix it. Now to take this all the way off, if you want to do that, basically you need to disconnect your fuel lines. There at the top, there, 1, 2, and you can actually do that from inside the car. Okay, I would recommend doing that first if you're going to drop the whole thing, because you'll notice the tank is actually mounted inside this subframe here. So this one has a leak in it. We're going to find the leak, the hose that's leaking, replace that, or if it's the tank, we'll replace that. Either way, we'll get it fixed and get it back up and running. Now to take this all the way off, again, we've got a connection here. You take that down, and you can take this line loose and that line loose. Now you have nothing connecting it except for two lines here, which those are little clamps, and you can slide those off, or you can disconnect it here. All right, we'll go ahead and disconnect that and get it down so you can see what it looks like. All right, so we're going to go ahead and drop the tank. We had to disconnect our two fuel lines here. Boom, Boom. You'll notice one's yellow and well, that one. Anyway, they're different sizes, so whenever it goes back together, you won't get it wrong, but the yellow matches up with the yellow. Okay. Then there's a evap hose here you need to release, and another one over there. Once you get all that loose, you can lower the whole tank assembly down. I'm going to leave those connected for right now until I get it down a little farther, because I might disconnect those from the top of the tank. Alright, and slowly you can lower it. As you can see there, that would come off there, and of course that one you can pull off right there. So that's why I didn't disconnect them up there. These are just vent lines and stuff, so you can easily take those loose. Alright, so we'll get those loose and I'll lower that tank on down and move it out of the way so I can give you a clearer view of it.